Hello everyone, my partners Maria Paula, Roger, Brian, and me, Helen. Today we will present our research topic called the influence of emotional intelligence in the learning process. To contextualize a bit, when we talk about emotional intelligence, we refer to the ability to recognize, manage, internalize, and identify the emotions of other people, this being a tool to live in society and how it develops depending on the context, that in this case, it will be the classroom. The influence of emotional intelligence in the learning process and the connection with our philosophies. Why we chose this topic? Recognition of the student in the classroom is important to use. During our teacher training process, we have identified the importance of recognizing the student as a person and not just as a potential learning entity. We also identified that all students are totally different people and that depending on their emotions, they perform a favorable or unfavorable job. Due to this, we were able to realize that emotional intelligence is first a tool to learn to recognize and manage emotions, but also help us identify other problems that might arise in the student and even in the learning process of this. Why is it important for us to do research on this topic? For us, it's important because in addition to being a tool to recognize and learn to manage emotions, it also allows to complete certain inconveniences that occur in the classroom. Those struggles has been learned, even frustrations in the learning process, and in some cases, the various learning diseases that may exist and that have not been identified in the student. How did the research documents found on this topic change our philosophies? Well, our philosophies did not change, but rather they were nurtured a little more because we found that in the different populations that this implementation of emotional intelligence has been carried out in the classroom, it has been satisfactory, and that it helped to have a more successful learning process. In addition, some learning inconveniences could be identified that the teacher cannot see with the naked eye and that even the student cannot identify either, which cause us a lot of interest in continuing investigating this topic.
What was the context of our research? Okay, the purpose of the research is to describe the influence of emotional intelligence and pedagogical affection on the academic performance of first semester students in higher education. It helps to be more dynamic, active, designed with clear purposes that meet the needs, like expectation and interest of the participants, the process, favoring their knowledge, their cognitive, affective, and social development in a playful way, individual or collective. This academic performance is a product of the student's cognitive and metacognitive process and internal resources such as self-esteem, self-concept, self-determination, and motivation, both extrinsic and intrinsic. The study participants are between 16 and 24 years of age and are in their first semesters of the Fundamentals of Pedagogy course at the Faculty of Education of the Corporación Universitaria Minuto de Dios.
Research problem. How do emotional intelligence and pedagogical affection influence the academic performance of first semester students? First semester students suffer from a high level of stress since they arrive at the university with high expectations. But when they notice that they become saturated with assignments and projects, they begin to feel very stressed. Emotional intelligence helps us not only to control stressing situations of this type, but also to prevent them. It is important to know how to use emotional intelligence. From primary school science, it helps to better carry out academic results, so people have a better learning process.
Used in the research is NICET method, where emotional intelligence tests were used in the quantitative part to measure the level of intelligence of each one, and in the qualitative part, a conversation was practiced about thoughts and opinions of the influence of emotional intelligence in the learning.
Passing with the second personal educational philosophy about my question is, does affection in the teacher-student relationship influence the student academic performance? And the answer is yes, because all of them know that is a little bit working the process that the teacher and student have in relationship to have good grades, and it's a part that is the teacher and student have to work together. Okay, passing with the process. The first is Martin Seligman's theory of positive psychology. Okay, the author said that this theory is important because improving relationships that contribute to the prevention of depression and improving learning. Okay, the second is influence of emotional intelligence and affect in the teacher-student relationship on the academic performance of higher education study. With this, the author presents Meyer and Salveri, seed by Fernandez and Extrema. This model of emotional intelligence. It consists in an individual use their emotion to solve problems and adapt to the environment. And they present for skill, perception, facilitation, assimilation, and adaptation. Continue with the theories interpersonal intelligence and interpersonal intelligence. Four is have with the student intrinsic or extrinsic motivation that consists in how to promote have more feelings in the topic when you are teaching or students. Okay. And the last one is academic performance is a product of the student's cognitive and metacognitive process and internal resource such as self-esteem, self-concept, self-determination, and motivation, both extrinsic and intrinsic. To explain the results, the author used a method that consists in a mixed method approach. That means quantitative and qualitative data. With the first of all quantitative component that consists in emotional intelligence influence the academic performance, and the second one is qualitative component is how pedagogical affect influence their academic performance. The author in the text said that it's most common that she use quantitative aspects in her research. For example, the intelligence inventory by Rivenbar that consists in 133 questions and 5 conceptual components. Okay, passing with the results, we can see a table that shows us words that. Okay, first of all, this table was created by Rivenbar and not for the author. Was elaborated for 30 students between 19 women, 11 men, from 17 and 22 years old. Okay, in Corporación Universitaria Minuto de Dios. Okay, the table observed that the average of the population taken as a sample has an emotional quantity that requires an ability to improve. For example, the first of all, for example, CE, that's mean emotional quotient. The CIA consists in interpersonal quotient, or the theory is a quotient, intelligence quotient, and other could be, for example, the CMA that consists of empathy quantity. These results show that the student needs more attention about her feelings because the grades in all the topics is not the better for them.
We got as a result that it was observed that emotions are a fundamental basis for the learning process in students. Another one is having the knowledge of emotional intelligence and making good use of it allows students to filter out those negative emotions that interrupt the learning process, such as frustrations, anger, among other emotions of their daily lives, and that this spreads to generate a more critical stress. Emotional intelligence in the field of learning not only benefits students but also teachers, since it allows a good student-teacher relationship and allows them to interfere appropriately in the dupes that may be found in the learning process. Emotional intelligence can be taught from an early age, so that as the student's development progresses, it can be complete with experiences and help more in self-control of emotions.
Thanks for your attention.